my back hurts, I'm totally inflexible, I get sore legs.
I would have times where my back would go out and I'd just be in tears, just trying to do anything, barely being able to get up the stairs.
Today we are joined by someone who's been a game changer for both of us. He's a qualified remedial massage therapist, fascial fitness trainer and personal trainer.
One of the main influential people that drove me to do this was my mum. She suffered through most of her life. She ended up by 40, had 2 hip replacements, 2 shoulder replacements. So that drove me to go, well, I don't want to end up like that.
If you're not happy with how your body is moving, you can do something about it.
Get moving, be in control of yourself, be proactive, don't wait for it to all go to shit. I'm short and stocky, and I don't look like I should be flexible. Like people go, oh, look how well you move, you're lucky. And I go,
Take luck.
nah.
You are to people an expander. You give them a version of what's possible.
It's just trying to show them what they need to do to keep doing what they want to do.
Welcome everyone to the Reconnect Self podcast, the show that helps you ultimately rediscover what brings you joy. My name is Scott. I am your host. I'm a filmmaker. I'm here with my wife, Tracey, who I will introduce in a moment. We also have a special guest. But before we jump into the episode, just wanted to let you know about our Reconnect retreats that we run here in Western Australia. So if you're feeling disconnected from yourself or your partner, these retreats are designed to help you reset, refresh, and refocus, whether it's about rediscovering balance for yourself through our individual retreat or deepening the connection in your relationship. We'll guide you through practices to help you slow down, tune in, and walk away feeling recharged and clearer about what's important. And you can find all the details of the individual retreat or the relationship retreat on our website, which is traceyquayle.com. All right. Hello, babe. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Should I introduce our guest?
Yes, our very first guest.
Yes. All right. Today we are joined by someone who's been a game changer for both of us personally and someone who's helping so many others move and feel better in their bodies. Greg Murphy is the owner of Joondalup Sports Remedial Massage here in Perth. He's a qualified remedial massage therapist, fascial fitness trainer and personal trainer with over 20 years, it could be more, could be less, of experience, Greg will confirm in a minute, in helping people prevent injury, improve mobility and live more comfortably in their bodies. Hello, Greg.
Scotty, how are you?
Good. How was that intro?
It's great. And now I've got to live up to it.
Well, you sound great on the audio. You have a lovely voice for podcasting. So
I've got a face for radio.
That's a nice way. You also didn't say, but Greg and I also used to work in the same office together. That's how we first met.
Yeah, that's how you met.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
Well, I was there. I've been there we've moved now, but almost 15 years, I would say. So you were pretty early on when I started.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That was a while ago. I was in the cupboard in the corner.
You were in that. That was.
But I chose to be there. But it was good. It kick-started everything.
And now you have a huge premises.
Yeah.
Awesome. Amazing. Why don't you just give us a little quick overview of your background and what you do to someone who has no idea?
I changed careers from a chef, and I had horrible posture. I was stiff and tight. I was an angry little critter because I was probably in a lot of pain. And I'm so lucky that I was able to reinvent myself and as an offshoot, be able to help lots of other people. I love the myofascial work, and that mainly started off to fix myself. I love massage, fell in love with it, fell in love with the science. But the journey has always been about me, but if I can help myself, I feel empowered to help other people. And it's all about bouncing and creating elasticity because it sounds a bit simplistic, but massage is very much about calming shit down. And the exercise component is about getting shit moving. So
amazing. Well, why don't we start with your story, Tracey, because Greg's part of that story, and then we can kind of link it all together. So how far back was this after baby?
It was after Ali? Yeah, it was after Aliana. So she would have been a baby when I remember doing a workout literally across the road at the park, and it was doing Russian twists. So I had a medicine ball in my hands, and my legs are up, and I was twisting, and it was in that moment just something clicked, and I just knew that I'd done some damage or I'd done some injuries or something, and kind of that was the start of my back issues. So from there on, I would have times where my back would go out and I couldn't bend, like the sensations through me. I would just be in tears trying to, put my pants on or just trying to do anything. And I remember one time, so at this point, Greg had, worked in my office. So I was often, getting his advice and things. And I remember one time going there and barely being able to get up the stairs.
Jeez.
And barely being able to get up, in the car trying to get up to see Greg. But I knew that he would help me. I knew that it would make a big difference.
Mm. What's your recollection, Greg? I know it's a long time.
No, I can't spell for peanuts, but I have a really good recall. So went in and Tracey was sitting on the lounge in her suite, and I had to help her get up because she was in so much pain, but there was no other way. It was like, and it wasn't probably a comfortable thing, but then we took her in and put her on the massage table and gave her some myofascial work and just calmed stuff down, and she walked out better than she walked in, and that was I remember that. I don't know.
Yeah, and then so Greg at that point, not long after that, he moved premises and he ended up with a bigger space, and then he started doing classes. So I started going to these really early, which is what you do now. But I'm of course always the leader.
I'm just the follower.
Actually, I think I was the leader.
In this occasion, you led, I followed, and then he followed me. But I remember going to those classes really early in the morning, and as much as they seemed, really chill compared to crazy gym workouts, I would still get hot, and I would still get, my heart rate.
Heart rate up. You can work up, I suppose. I look at it and go, it's about how much effort you put in. Like I feel like I think I'm coming up to 12 months now. Close, but pretty close to 12 months. And when I first started, all I could do just to get through the session. Whereas now I treat it a little bit more like a workout, and because it's as hard as you want to make it, right?
It's certainly the way you're doing it now is much more higher intensity, but it lets you grow, but it gives you the freedom to do that. It's not forcing you into doing stuff that you shouldn't do, and it's trying to make you intuitively realize what you can do and work with it. And we talk about not pushing into pain, but pushing into discomfort. And hopefully discomfort is the feeling of change, and preferably it's a positive change. But we don't want to load up your nervous system by hurting you and trying to convince you that you're doing good.
So we'll go back a step and go, so let's say there's people out there listening or watching going, I just don't feel good in my body. My back hurts, or I'm totally inflexible, or I get sore legs. Like, what would you say to those people? And then maybe lead into who are the sorts of people that you come across every day.
So a weird little humorous analogy I've come up with that you can edit out later if you don't like it. Basically, there's 4 frogs. And the first frog is a frog that something uncontrolled happens. He hurts himself, but basically he jumps into a hot frying pan. This is probably the chef coming out of me. He jumps into the frying pan, but the pain immediately makes him jump out. And that's not a massage thing, so he should seek medical attention. But it's hard to prevent things like that. So then the second frog is the chef picks him up and puts him in a pot of water. And the pot's quite pleasant, and the frog's swimming around. He doesn't realise the chef's making frog soup. So his environment is changing, but he's accepting of the change because it's happening at a slow enough, but bad things are going to happen. And that's pretty much what most people, they're living, they're doing, but it's having a negative effect on themselves from a physiological point of view, let alone psychological and everything else. But we don't notice it because we're busy living.
How might that look? Like, what are some examples that you would give of how that might look in real life?
So for yourself, you were going to the gym, you were loving it, soccer, but then you started exercising through elimination because there were things that your body was saying, Scotty, you don't do this.
Yes, I had tennis elbow first, and then I adapted my gym routine to not bend my elbows. And that led to a very bad shoulder injury.
Yep.
Because I was overloading my shoulders.
Yep. And people adapt and they don't realise that they're accommodating, but really now they're training backwards. But the intention is to train forwards. So that ends up being a frog in a pot. And then you have the third frog, which is a frog in a sock, going off like a crazy frog in a sock. So people do that, usually come and see me Mondays and Tuesdays after a big weekend of sport or gardening or just having a great time. But they didn't realise they were a frog in a pot, so their capacity has been reduced. So therefore, they end up on the massage table. Ideally, we want to be the frog in the spa, number 4. So he's able to temperature control his environment. He's doing all the positive things from physical, mental, enough sleep, relationships. He's doing all the good things, and he's living the dream.
That's me.
So be the frog in the spa. If you're going to be a frog, be the frog in the spa.
I think that's me now.
I'm not sure I'm the frog in the spa. Am I the frog in the
You're
spa?
on the way.
Yeah, I'm on the way.
You're on the way.
Yeah.
So it's So that's my
I like it.
analogy. So
And I guess what we're saying is don't just accept, just because you're getting older, don't just accept that your body is deteriorating.
People do.
Because it doesn't have to.
People say that to me all the time. It sucks getting older. Oh God, these knees. Oh God, and like they complain about it like it's inevitable.
Yeah, like you can't change it.
Yeah, like this is just how it is.
And that's what the point of this whole show today is you can change it.
Absolutely. I never used to be able to get my hands past my knees.
Yeah.
And in fact, when I used to go to a particular gym before the one that I go to now, which shout out Lacey's, I love Lacey's, but the one I went to before, we used to have to do a rowing machine at the end of every workout, and I could never beat my friend because she could just bend further towards, her toes when she was...
Get more leverage.
Yeah, and I just couldn't, and it was because I couldn't bend past my knees. Now I'm happy to report I can pretty much be flat hands on the floor.
Yeah. And I'm getting that. Like, I was the most inflexible person ever. And yeah, when I started seeing you, Greg, getting through that class was a mission.
Yep.
And you could probably talk on this, like it's a slow burn, would you say? Like,
yeah.
Maybe tell us a little bit about the class, maybe delve a little bit into the fascia and what that actually is.
Yep.
And then we can go from there.
Yep. So fascia is basically connective tissue, tendons, ligaments. It wraps around the muscles, it joins the muscle, it's within the muscle, it wraps all the cells. And it should be a nice elastic quality of tissue that has the ability to be elastic, store energy, recoil, there's your efficiency, there's length because it's also sliding upon itself. So there's, as opposed to doing long held stretches, my training is all about bouncing within range with light weights, more reps, to create that elasticity and that slide effect. And that's where the length and the range of motion starts coming back. But also the twisting and turning, because the layers lay over each other. And if you don't challenge them with twisting, turning, and doing all the things that we don't do, then why would it do it? So it's creating that elasticity, but also healthy connective tissue has the ability to be elastic. But depending on speed and load, it can tighten up because you don't want to be the bendy-wendy person in the room that doesn't have stability. And healthy connective tissue enables that. So the class helps to develop that. It's very dynamic, so it's also developing movement, but not through linear lines, but twisting, turning, and finessing.
Who are the types of people that you see? Like, take us through some of the age brackets and what the common themes are that you see. Like, I'm going to guess, just to kick you off, that people in their 20s are just hammering the gym for the beach muscles.
Yep.
At the detriment of maybe some other stuff.
Yeah. Well, for me, that age group, I talk about them, they're still in the breeding cycle.
Yeah.
So it's all about looking pretty and attracting mates.
Yeah. Which I did. And did well.
Well, it worked. Got to be happy with the results there, Scotty.
Yeah.
But for me, I was stiff and tight always, just genetically. If I didn't do what I do, I'd be a brick. So For me, it happened. Yeah, I sort of should have been looking for something like this when I was about probably 10 or 11, I think. But I'm so glad I found it when I did, where other people, maybe 35, their body starts to get stiff and tight, getting out of bed. They get the aches and pains, but they shouldn't accept that is
Just
old
the way
They
it is.
do.
or
They
anything.
really
Yeah.
do accept it. I hear that all the time. Can I just say also, when I went to your classes, there was a very, very attractive footballer that came. He wasn't
yep.
famous or anything, but he was from the local club and stuff.
Yep.
That was a nice way to start the day.
Yep.
That's news to me. You never told me that one.
He doesn't come anymore, Scotty.
Yeah.
do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a couple of young ones, but I think he was quite the favourite with the
Yeah.
class.
So 35s.
So
Yeah, moving on. We're
As a
moving on.
general, we'll leave Tracy just to
Just to reminisce.
reminisce. So 35 is a sort of a nice age where your body stops forgiving you for your sins. Whereas other people, it might be later. Like I'm currently working on a chap, and he's about my age, and he's been very sporty, gym orientated, played Masters, AFL, but he's finally got to the point where his body's not forgiving him, and it's messing with his head because he's never been like this before. And I'm going, what are you complaining about? I was like this at 15, dude.
But it can be their identity, can't it? Because they've always seen themselves a certain way.
100%.
And all of a sudden it's changed and they have that loss of movement or health in
Yep.
some way.
And what I try and explain is because they have to modify what they're doing because it's not working. If it was working so good, why are you here? But ultimately, I'm trying to be an enabler and get them back, because if that's their identity and that's their fun thing, it's just trying to show them what they need to do to keep doing what they want to do. Because otherwise it's not sustainable. It's all about that sustainability.
Yeah.
Because if that's your happy place, if it's running, but if all you do is run, you're going to run into running injuries. It's all about cross-training and mixing it up and really identifying what the dysfunction or what the missing component is, so that you don't get the injuries.
Oh, you've made me think of a couple of clients now that I can send to you. Straight away as you're saying that, I'm like, I've got a client that runs and he does have injuries, and it would be because he's doing one level of
Just the
training.
one thing, yeah.
Yes.
But we're able to treat and find things before they develop. Because most people wait till pain is the motivator to do something. That's pain's job.
No, that was me. I waited until my shoulder was a mess.
Yep.
And then I did something about it.
That sort of sounds as well like in terms of a therapist. If someone is dealing with what's coming their way as it comes and clearing it out, it's not going to develop into a long-term stored, energy or trauma or whatever. So it's exactly the same. And again, that crossover between the mind and the body is so interesting.
Yep. So, because I've been doing this for 20 years now, I've everyone's an experiment for me. I try and I push limits, but I'm science-based, but I don't do anything too stupid. But I will push limits, but everything seems to work well.
But I think that's your education. I think you're taking educated guesses and trying things and backing yourself.
And
that's how discoveries get discovered, by doing that.
Because, in the world, we talk in massage and physio and exercise, everyone talks about research-based. It's got to be the research is the research there to back it up. But the research can be outdated. Whereas I'm not academic. I read academia. I love science, but I'm the concepts guy. I'm at the coalface. I'm the guy at the front with the axe swinging.
These things. You're trying these things with your clients.
But you can see what works, and it's all just feeds upon itself. So I joke that I'm not overly intelligent and I'm a slow learner, but it's because I need to process at that really deep level, and I'll spend way too many years thinking about concepts until it all suddenly makes sense and the science pops up and goes, oh yeah, well that's why you've been doing that. It's so somewhat of an intuitive therapist, but actually trying to develop things to help the people on the table. My golden rule is step 1, get people out of pain. If I can't get you out of pain, I need to share you with somebody more that has the skills that you need, or withdraw and let you go off. because I can't train you if you're in too much pain. And ultimately, I want to get you off the table and into the exercise room, and empower you to do all the work. So coming back to so it depends on, so who I'm treating depends on really people that are just fed up with and come to the realization that how they feel and move isn't the end of the road, and they don't want that, and they're proactive and they're ready to invest in with time and effort to create that happier version of them.
Absolutely.
And just on that, I remember during my back issues going and seeing a chiro, and look, I want to shout out that not all chiros are like this. This was a particular person that I don't think had my best interest at heart, but I saw him 20 times, 20 literally in a couple of months, because they make you do 3 times a week, and it was preventative. It was to make sure I never got to the point where, you know, I had been, and nothing that he did actually really worked or helped. In fact, he put me in pain and had to get a massage therapist to get me out of it. He couldn't do it. And yeah, he wasn't helpful at all, but you're right, with empowering myself, with able to stretch and move and do all those things myself and just keep my flexibility, then I kept myself limber and I wasn't getting locked into positions anymore. So yeah, I think it is about empowering people.
And we have said on a previous episode, but it's worth repeating if people didn't listen to that one, how much time you devote to your flexibility. Like how just, what is it, an hour a night?
It wouldn't,
45 minutes a night?
Yeah, probably half an hour to 45 minutes. I'm not rolling the whole time. I'm kind of watching telly at the same time, but because I love the feeling.
Why don't you, just for the viewers on YouTube or Spotify video, show them the roller that you use?
So I got this back in the day when I was seeing Greg, and I was just saying, I can't find this anywhere, but it goes around your spine. So you can actually lay right in the center of that, and there's a spot where your spine goes. But all these bumpy bits on the roller will actually just massage all through your back or your legs. But for me, I like my upper shoulders,
so
my
just
lower
to
back.
describe what that is,
It's like a peanut shape.
Yeah, or an hourglass, and it has...
Oh yeah, hourglass.
What is that, about a foot wide, 1.5 wide, and it has dimples on it. Yeah. And you roll that every day.
Yeah. And then I also have this foam ball, and that can go under any sort of spots that are really tight on your back or your shoulders and things. But I also love rolling my head. So I'll have the big black roller under my back, and then I'll have my head happening at the same time. So those two movements, and I could just hear all the clicks and the cracks, and that's kind of what I'm chasing. I'm chasing all those clicks and cracks, and that's where the relief is. The other day after I got back from my breathwork training, I was in heaven on that floor. Because I hadn't rolled properly for a week. I'd only done the twisting in my breathworks, but I was like, every 2 seconds I could hear my sounds going, it's so amazing. Yeah. I was loving it. So,
and that's, you found those through Greg, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
That's how we start our Wednesday morning class, is about 20 minutes of that on the floor. Just doing your own bits and pieces.
Which is a lovely way to start.
It's a beautiful warm up, because it's loosening you up, which means you're now ready to push a little bit harder. But we do a full body massage basically when we first teach that. But then, as you know where your problem areas is, you can just focus more on...
That's what I do, yeah.
And it sort of leads me to one of my questions I definitely wanted to ask you. Let's say there's people out there watching or listening that are in a bit of pain, or just, sick of feeling not good in their own body. What are 1 or 2 tips that you could give them as because I find if you can just start, doesn't matter what it is, just start.
What's that step? Yeah.
What is that first 1 or 2 steps that you would say?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of self-treating before asking other people to do it for you. Mm-hmm. So, but that's where, at least doing like a course or a classes in self-release, depending on, but if you've got a sore spot, be gentle. It's not about smashing. It's not blunt force trauma. But say your back's a bit sore, you could take that ball or even a tennis ball up against a firm wall that's going to support you and just roll around and apply pressure, because you'll spend more time treating yourself than asking your partner or somebody to do it, because they get bored really quick.
Oh, he does.
Unless you're Tracey. She's actually really, really good. I get sore thumbs after
He's
3 minutes.
pathetic. He's like Mr. Burns, off the Simpsons with his little frail hands. That's what I say to him.
It's meant to be equal time.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
it's not.
You only get back what you give.
Well, that's not true, apparently.
Tracey's massages for my headaches are phenomenal.
And how long do they go for?
20 minutes, 25 minutes, half an hour sometimes.
Often it's a TV episode or something.
An episode of a show.
Yep.
And it's
what
phenomenal.
a lovely wife I am. Amazing. Amazing. Trying to keep his health going. And
Yes.
make sure he's,
So self-treating like that is a great way to start, but less is more. And if it makes it worse, don't do it. Don't be silly. And then just gentle movement, and just explore twisting, turning, but all gentle and slow.
Yeah,
if you move slow, you're not going to hurt yourself, because your nervous system's going to go, I don't want you doing that. Now, it doesn't mean you have anything horrible and bad. It just means your nervous system doesn't trust you. Mm-hmm. So that's where, if you can't make a change, then go and find somebody who can help you and assist you. But ideally, it shouldn't be just a passive treatment. It should be a passive active treatment. Mm-hmm. So there should be trying to get you moving. People love playing games and balls. And one of the problems we age is we stop playing and we stop doing things like that.
In general, I think in general, regardless of our bodies, it's also our mind. We're not having fun anymore. We're not being playful. We need to be doing all those things.
Well, I'm very proud that I don't act my age, because I've never been that age before. So
I've seen your social media. I can vouch for that.
I don't know how to act. So, I can be a grown-up, but not very often.
Who would want to be? Who would want to be?
It's just...
Well, since we're talking about age, tell us about some of the... what would the word be? Generalizations, or you see more older people, but you also see people in their 20s, 30s, 40s. Sort of
you were
break
seeing
it down.
all the CrossFit people when I was around, and the swimmers.
More so swimmers, and we've had a lot to do with endurance athletes, as in triathletes. Mm-hmm. So I can work with elite athletes, or Heather, who's we refer to as the matriarch within our group.
Yeah, Heather, she's there on a Wednesday when I'm there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she's retired now, and but we've been training her. She was client number 1.
Oh, wow.
So I continually thank her for her faith in me. But I knew she needed what I could do, and we grew. And the class evolved around her, and she holds her own now against anyone in the class. But
can you say how old she is? Are you allowed?
I didn't ask her, but she's retired, and she's been retired for a few years.
Okay.
But she's amazing with how she moves, but she knows how important it is. So she still comes most of the time 3 times a week without fail. And if she has a short spell away, she knows how important it is to come back, because she functions so much better.
Yeah.
So she's addicted to it, because she's addicted to feeling so much better, and she's so much more functional. And it just ticks all the boxes at that foundation level. Now, this is what I do with people, is that beautiful level of foundation, but it's all about showing them what they need to do so they can get back to doing what they want to do. And if you're doing really well, you might need to be there doing what I do, but maybe you need to do it once or twice a week. But it's all about educating people to do what they can do, and like yourself.
I think it feels so good. I roll every single day.
Yep.
I just love it. And if I don't, I feel the difference of the tightness in my body. So it's definitely something I've always now, for the last few years, prioritised.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you, though, we often say as a therapist, and this is more my spiritual side coming out, because I'm sure my business partner would not say this to clients, but when we have an emotion, it's a release of energy, and it's energy in motion is what we feel. Now, when we don't express that emotion fully, so we should feel an emotion and then work it through our system so that it gets released fully. When it doesn't, it's said that energy is stored in our body to be released at a later date.
Yep.
Is that what's stored in the fascia that creates blockages and therefore does interrupt?
Yep, certainly in a way that is very much part of it. And originally I think in the 50s, Ida Rolf was a psychologist, and she developed myofascial release as a form of treatment to help her clients and to help other psychologists actually do hands-on. And it evolved from there. So her view was that people might be physically stuck in a posture from a trauma. And it's a horrible term, but or a term is victim's posture. So where you're trying to protect. And if you can't escape that, then you're sort of stuck in that position. So
then you'd have all your blood vessels around your heart closed over, because they're so constricted. So that's what they even say, shoulders back does increase that flow.
So that more than likely would be a neural response in the beginning, but then because you're now trapped in it, you can't get out of it, then it becomes a problem for the muscles and then the fascia and then globally and then down to joints and everything. So by releasing, and these days in the class we use the balls and the foam rollers, we're able to get people to apply stimulus which changes fluids, helps annoy the muscles and trigger them to maybe go into a little bit of a healing, self-healing. But also you're triggering the nervous system. It goes, wow, I don't like that. What can I do? So you've asked the inner nervous system to come back online and go, did you know about this? And if it can help, it gives the ability to create a change. So that's why we use that as a warm-up. And it also releases painkillers and things, natural painkillers within the body, so that you can then suppress some of that and feel a bit better, a bit looser, and move a little bit deeper throughout the class, which is then the light weights and all the bouncy and all the movement. And that helps to facilitate all that. So
the other thing I've heard is, for anyone that's heard us talk about the movie or the documentary Fantastic Fungi, which Scott and I
about all the time.
make our friends watch. It's talking about the mycelium network underground and the way that trees communicate with each other and plants in general communicate with each other. And I've heard that the fascia is also a similar system in terms of it passes information through the body
everywhere. But it's highly innervated with nerves. So a lot of feedback going back to the body is there. So some of the more advanced treatments I do in the massage room, I might use a dry needle on a trigger point, which is a tight, contracted area within the muscle. And if people have very tight fascia, the muscle relaxes, but the fascia then suddenly goes on to stretch. And it's a slow responder, so it's going to take maybe 24, 48 hours to catch up, which in that short term triggers an inflammatory reaction to help it remodel, but that also stimulates, and it can be uncomfortable. So I've got to explain, especially to people who are stiffer and tighter, if I do this, this is going to feel like I've upset you even more, but give it that time period and you're going to feel much better. At the moment, I'm trying to understand how important the nervous system is, and it's not just the physiological changes that originally I would have said that's what I was achieving. As I'm growing and understanding more, we also have to acknowledge that there is that nervous system, and you've got to work to the tolerance of the client, because otherwise you'll set off more trauma and actually trigger. So how are they going to loosen up if we don't actually work within their tolerances? Which is why I love the electrical, the bioelectric massage therapy that I've been doing for about 6 years now, because it massages from the inside out. It's not blunt force trauma. It's very tolerable, but it's working the muscle, and it pumps it and changes it chemically so it comes back to an electrically functional chemical little thing that it should be. But it's also passive exercise. So it's passive active recovery. It's passive active exercise, but at a low level. So it's triggering changes, because that's what exercise is all about. It's a stimulus that then the body adapts to. But the beauty of the electrical, because it is, things are moving, and it's triggering low level exercise and low level recovery. And it's such a nice way to help people and so effective.
So we should probably paint the picture of what this electricity thing is, because you've done it to me a few times. You have a mat on the floor.
Yep.
You have bare feet.
Yep.
That electricity is coming through the mat.
Yep.
Up through your body.
Yep.
And you're massaging me in a particular way, and I can feel that electrical pulse entering my body.
Yep. How
does that all work? And why is it working? Why is it good?
I'm a wizard. So that's all there is to it. No, it's actually science. So a muscle contracts and relaxes. So you've got a chemical reaction within the body and an electrical reaction. So the nerve sends down a signal that converts to chemicals, which converts to electric. So when it builds up to 30 milliamps, you have a muscle at rest. So a muscle at rest is actually sitting there nice and soft and supple. It's got that 30 milliamps holding it, and it's ready to go. Then the stimulus builds to 90 milliamps, you have a contraction. And then if that stimulus is removed, as long as there's energy left, the muscle goes back to rest. Most people that come and see me are stiff and tight from whether it's psychological, whether it's overloading from work, hobbies, sport, gym, poor posture. Posture is a big thing. People say, whereas I go, well, posture is not important until you get stuck in one. Because if you can get in poor posture, that's great, as long as you can get out of it. So, but the reason you don't get out of it might be the physiological or the psychological, or a combination of the two. So if the muscle's short, tight, and fatigued, by putting the pads on, standing on the pad, putting pads on you, creating a circuit, a little bit like a TENS machine or electrical muscle stimulation.
Which I have. I got one off you.
Self-treat, yep.
Yep.
So what that does is if, as we massage, it's not just the pressure of a traditional massage. We're now stimulating the muscle, so we're massaging inside out. So if the muscle doesn't have the energy to be relaxed, we can stimulate it 3 times a second. It has a pumping action, pumps out the bad, brings in the good, changes it back into a happy state, and then the muscle's nice and relaxed. That deloads the fascial system, which then deloads the joints, and then it becomes usable if everything's going well, and then you can start to move and train the fascia, and that's where it all comes in. So
this TENS machine, just to paint the picture, is like the size of, I guess, like a walkie-talkie kind of size, and then it has wires coming out the right and wires out the left with pads on the end, and you put the pads on any part of, well, not any part of your body, but most parts of your body. What I usually do is my neck, my shoulders, and sometimes my legs if I have sore legs. And you talk about it's putting energy. You have an energy deficiency. Tell me a bit about that.
So it's just that the muscles become fatigued. Really, it's the waste products building up, which changes the pH. Muscles are like fish tanks. They operate better with their particular pH. If it becomes out of that range, then it's no longer optimal, it's no longer functional. So we bypass the chemical and go straight to the electrical and stimulate the motor units and get the actin and myosin, not getting too geeky, but the little bits that grab hold and relax. So we're able to artificially pump them. So therefore, instead of being active recovery, like going for a walk, if you go for a run the day before, use the same muscles, low intensity, flush out the waste, bring in the good. But if you're stuck, that's where the electrical means you can do it passively, whether you're on the table with me or just self-treating at home with the units. That bioelectric massage just brings about that relief, and especially the portable units, or you can have a big unit at home, but it's so easy. You sit and watch TV. It's foam rolling's good, but it's active. Whereas if it's more of an energy crisis, then treat it with energy.
What are your thoughts on, and I might put you on the spot here because you might not know anything about this particular question, but given I've just done my breathwork training, and in my journeys, I found I was very, very physical. I was moving around a lot,
Yep.
but I was also getting my fists and shoving them into my lower back, which is my problem area.
Yep.
And I really felt like instinctively I was trying to break up the fascia.
Yep.
And because we release 70% of our toxins through our breath, I kind of just saw it as being, if I'm breaking up that fascia and then I'm breathing at this intense level, hopefully I'm breathing out the energy that I've disrupted from doing that. I don't know if that's just a theory in my head or whether that's actually what's going on.
It's very hard to break fascia up,
Okay.
according to the science. I'd like to think we stimulate it and prepare it for change, or prime it is my word for it. But from the muscle, because you are more than likely working on your side obliques and your quadratus laborum, muscles in that lower back waist area. But the waste that we're talking about flushing out, some of that you would pee out, maybe some of it you poop out, but other you breathe out. Like the carbon dioxide, we breathe out. So in a way, it's probably all tangled up. So you were treating on multiple layers and multiple levels, and
because we also
good.
they were teaching us how so much of our trauma is stored in our hips.
Yep.
And we actually did, when you were talking about the myofascial releases that
Yep.
you're talking about, we did what they're called TRE, trauma release exercises.
Yep.
So we did a series of those, and then in the breathworks we did particular ones also.
Yep.
And my legs and hips were shaking like crazy. Like
Yep.
they were literally going off on their own.
Yep.
And I was able to still, when I was doing it not in a breathwork, I was able to hold a conversation, but they were just going crazy.
Yep.
And then at the end of that, the energy was still going through me so much, my teeth were chattering.
Yep.
And I literally had to go and ground under a tree and intentionally put my energy into the earth.
Yep.
Because my teeth were still going.
Yep.
But I couldn't believe how much energy was coming out of my hips just through doing those certain movements.
Yep. So from my point of view, because not the expert in that, but it's the trembling, it's probably energy and what would you say? The nervous system trying to work out how to calm everything down. And the body, nothing against physios. Physios, great people, they do great jobs. But usually they work on acute, localized area. As a myofascial therapist and the way I train, I look at the whole body.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
It is all
but if you start messing with one end, don't be surprised if you're going to see a change on the other. People try and touch their toes, they roll the ball under their feet, and they can see change, and they can suddenly go further because they've annoyed their nervous system, and the nervous system's gone, well, oh, how can I help you? So it releases, and then suddenly you have more movement just from rolling your feet.
Right.
But it's all connected.
Yeah. People have often said as well that if they do yoga, there's certain yoga poses or moves which all of a sudden have a big outburst of emotion.
Yep.
So I just feel like everything is just, it's so connected.
Even
Everything's stored in the body. And
on the massage table, sometimes we'll release certain muscles, especially if we're doing some deeper work, either with needling or with the deeper pressure, and it can trigger an emotional response. Now, that's not my specialty, and all I do is allow people, and I say, look, that's perfectly fine. You're in a safe place. Don't worry about it. Just, it is what it is. It's a good thing.
Yep.
I know a good counsellor.
Yeah, ring Tracey up if you need to go further. But from my point of view, was the memory stored in the muscle, which some people might say, and I'm not saying I'm right or wrong on this, but I think, from my understanding of how the body works, that might have been a sensitive area for however, but when you press or stimulate it, it then sends a message to the brain. Because that's how the nervous system works. It just stimulates. The nerves go, oh, that's something.
Yeah.
Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it a shear force? Is it pressure? Hey, brain, something's happening down here. And then the brain decides how it's going to interpret that. So that's why some people feel pain and it's off the scale. Some people don't.
Yeah.
So it sends a message. But if there's trauma related, if it was stored in the head and that part of the brain's activated, well, you're back where all that happened, perhaps. That's how I see it from my explanation. So when you're starting to mess around and undo things, that's where, at the extreme levels, having somebody who actually knows what they're doing, like yourself, Trace, is so important, instead of people just bumbling along and just ending up and becoming a bit of a mess. So I don't go down that road. That's not my specialty. Because I tend to be a little bit too efficient the way I work, where Alana, my wife, she has a much more caring, nurturing nature. So she gets the people...
You're in your masculine.
So, yeah, I'm just a bulldozer. I'm efficient. But the good thing is people look at me and go, I need loves and hugs and all that, and yeah, he's not the one for me. And,
Go to Alana.
And that's fair. Because they've got to feel that connection. And that's like people say, you're the best therapist at the clinic. And I go, well, no. And people go, why not? And I said, well, I'm the most experienced. I've done the most courses. I'm the biggest geek. All I do is think about this stuff 24/7.
Can I just interrupt you there? He really does, because I've been around him for years, and he was banging on about this stuff right at the very beginning. And if you get him talking about it, he just lights up and off he goes.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've been knowing him for a year now. I've seen
And
it.
even when I've talked to his wife, are you married now?
Yes.
Yes. His wife about it, he will be up hours before her, researching whatever it is, and before she can even get her coffee, he's ready to inform her of all the updates and all the information.
Yeah, it's not the best thing to wake up after. But I'm much more comfortable these days. I'm very comfortable with what I finally know, but I'm very comfortable with what I don't know. But it's cool working with people like yourself, and people who specialise in things that I don't have to be the expert in.
No.
I'm an old fart now. I don't want to spend the rest of my life trying to become an expert in everything. I'm very happy with where I am. This is my niche, but here, go and find these people and take them on. And that took me 20 years to get to.
I love that you said that it was your personal journey that got you here, because I think actually that's where most people will start. They'll start with their own stuff, figure out a way that's helped them, and then want to shout it from the rooftops. Because you're like, oh my God, like me, Scott always tells me I'm a breath pusher because I push everyone into breath work. But it was because I felt so good doing it that I'm like, oh my God, why are you meditating? Do this instead, which obviously meditating is still very good. But every time I found something that I love, I'll want everyone to know about it.
But that's passion.
Yes.
And that's
your energy. It creates energy for you, because that's why you've got the energy to be up 2 hours before your wife researching things, because it's so interesting to you.
That's where my dopamine
No one else is finding.
I've walked into classes at 7 a.m. He's bouncing off the walls.
That was the comment this week. Somebody went, at 7 o'clock in the morning, do you wake up like this? And I went, yeah, pretty much. And I already did a class from at 6.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But it's a great way to start the day, because I'd rather train in the morning, because that starts my day.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas if you do it in the evening or the afternoon, personally, I don't have the energy for that.
And too many things can get in the way as well.
Everything gets in the way.
Yeah.
The other question I really wanted to ask you is it never too late, or do you reach a point where it actually is too late?
Yes and no. So, you have an opportunity, and the sooner the better. It's a self-lubricating system. If you don't move it, motion is lotion, all those sort of fun things. So the sooner you start it, the better off you are. But as long as you don't have an acute problem, there's no reason to start. And a lot of people maybe get surgery and like much more acute treatments when maybe it was myofascial, and the rest of the world doesn't view it the same. Yeah. So I think it's a great starting point. And that's what I call smart therapy 1, 2, 3. Calm it down, make sure it's got the energy, and that's where the electric stuff all comes in, the bioelectric massage therapy, but then get it moving. And it's a 3-step process. And if it's not working, then escalate and move on. But if you don't keep moving and you don't keep lubricating, and you do get tight fascia and you do get tight muscles, whether it's physiological, psychological, then you get compression, and compression causes wear and tear. Then you get tendinopathies, and that's a whole different topic now, especially when we're talking about menopause and how the hormone changes, which then affects the fascia. And there's a menopause syndrome that's now dedicated around myofascial, how the change, and not an expert in it, but menopause affects the myofascial system, and now there's a whole lot of research to promote that. So get moving, be in control of yourself, be proactive. Don't wait for it to all go to shit, because you might have to need much more serious stuff. But the good news is, with the case study that I'm currently writing up with a friend, he's 63. I can say all this because he's agreed to be the case study, and I can talk about him now. So it's all good.
Publicly, you can name him.
So yes,
I know him
professionally.
Well. Good guy.
So he's had 2 hip replacements, left and right, in the last 4 years, and late 2023 he had his left knee replaced. Now he's had surgery. The surgery was fine. He had 10 sessions with a physio, and the physio took him as far as that program, but he was still in pain, and his function was still horrible. But everything, it was all chronic. It had all built up because he'd been adjusting from the hip, and then the surgery, then the hip, and then the surgery, then the knee, and it was about 3 months, and he just went, and he is a friend, and he sort of said, okay, I'm going to go and see Greg because I think he can help me. And that was cool. So he came in and we did the bioelectric massage therapy on his quads, because he's 3 months, so he's out of that healing stage. The physio's done what they can do. But if the muscles didn't have that energy because they were fatigued before the surgery, and the pain and all that emotional stuff around it as well, so that got him moving better, which then also affected his outlook. He was able to ease up on the painkillers. Yeah. So for 6 weeks, and we did tests of range of motion, and but everything just changed, and it's all documented, which is really cool. We've got photos to show the changes. But he stayed then with us for 12 months, coming in once a week and having a treatment. But then we advanced from the bioelectric massage, using dry needles and getting into the muscle, and really waking things up. And it was quite emotional for him. Like, it was distressing, but he could see the benefit. So some people are happy with needles. Some people, needles are a no-go. They just don't, so you use other treatments. But slowly we put energy back into his body, which then gave him the ability to start moving. And after that 6 weeks, and we got him doing more exercise. We started him in the beginning just with knee extension and flexion. So moving it, but allowing the fascia to move. But because the muscle was working, he was now starting the conditioning. And we saw the difference. And now you wouldn't even know that he's got 2 shiny hips and a shiny knee, because of the work that he's done. Yeah. But we just got to guide him along the way.
But I think it's also it's that integration, because this is on topic but off topic. But last year I had a little incident with my finger where I banged it against a door and the nail was hanging by a thread. Yep. And that was me trying to break up a fight with my children. Thanks, Ali and Tommy. And it literally traumatized me, didn't it? And I had a plastic bottle over it to protect it.
Yep.
And what I started noticing, eventually the nail fell off and blah, blah, blah. And it was the most excruciating pain because of all the nerve endings under the nail bed. But what it made me realize is, even after it wasn't painful anymore, I was still protecting it.
Yep.
I would grab something and I'd notice that it wasn't involved in the grip.
Yep.
And I would have to say to myself, Tracey, there's nothing wrong with it now.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what people do.
Yep.
They've had that injury, they've had that surgery. Technically, there's nothing wrong with it anymore, but we've still excluded it from, you know, the normal function.
Yep.
And mentally, we're even protecting it. But I was babying it.
A big part of the brain got devoted to that finger.
Yes, and making sure it was safe.
Yep.
And being hypervigilant to who bumped me.
Yep.
So all of those things and the thinking around it gave me a really good understanding of trauma.
Yep.
because my body had really adapted to that trauma
Yep.
and was trying to make sure that it was as comfortable as possible.
Yep.
No one was irritating it. And I think that that's just one example of a finger.
Yep.
But that could be your shoulder. That could be your,
Yep.
your ankle, whatever it might be.
And there's research with cyclists, and they keep getting pain every time they get to a hill, and then they put them on with a camera, a big screen, and they've got them on an exercise bike, and they modify the bike and say, look, when you get to a hill on the video, it's going to change, it's going to be harder, and we just want to see what's happening. And so they get to the hill, and she goes, yep, pain, yep, there is. And they went, yeah, we haven't changed anything.
Oh, wow, it's psychological.
Wow.
So then they were able to educate her
Yeah.
that it wasn't really the physiological anymore, that it was just a psychological. So they detrained her, desensitized her,
Yeah.
and now she doesn't get pain going on pills. So
That's so interesting.
Wow.
but the beauty for me is watching people move, but the hands-on electric, because if the muscle has energy and it's relaxed, it doesn't react. So therefore, I don't need to do that style of treatment, that passive active recovery and exercise, low-level exercise. We can move them straight away and start doing them more the corrective exercise. And I've had an example of one client came in, knee replacement, or a partial knee replacement, and he was on the table, on the massage table, there was none of this reaction. There was no stimulus. I wasn't getting anything. It was a nice massage for him. So we just exercised him. So it's about letting the body tells you what it wants.
And it's so clever.
If you listen. Mm-hmm. But we develop stories as therapists, and we develop stories as the client. But it's so cool when you can clear all that clutter, all that static, and just let the body tell me. And then I do my treatment. And if we see the changes that we want, great. If we're not seeing the changes, not my problem.
Yeah.
I want to help people, but the best way I can help them is going, well, you need to move on. But if they're responding appropriately, we go, next step's exercise.
Yeah.
And that's where the classes come in. But they're toned down to
meet their level.
Yeah, it's not competitive. It's just
except
you.
for 60-year-olds.
Well, I'm trying
that
to keep
bold?
up with this. I do warn people, don't keep up with the ones in the corner. So,
And I would say as well that if anyone was watching from the outside, like, it would look really basic,
yep,
but it's so amazing what it is able to do. And there's another gent in our class on a Wednesday. I think he does 3 times a week.
yep,
You probably know who I'm talking
Yep.
about. And he joined a couple of months ago.
yep,
He was a mess.
yep. Oh, yeah, lower back pain.
Yeah. Could
Yeah.
barely move. And I was watching him the other day going, wow, he's improved out of sight.
Yep, and
And
pain
again,
levels going down.
it looks so basic. Like it's, we're just doing gentle movements and
Yep.
whatever. But
Do you still throw the beanbags across the room?
yeah, still do that. Yeah.
Is it beanbags? Or is it balls?
No, they're
Weighted,
sandals.
weighted, sandy
Sandals.
things.
So I
Wetsuit
wasn't
material
remembering,
with sand
Oh,
in
that's
them.
right.
Yeah.
I
But
remember.
the reason I
Good,
mention
good
it,
memory. That's over 10
yeah,
years.
that's good. The reason I mention it is because it doesn't, some of this might have made it sounded complicated, but it's
not. It's not at all.
It's simple. And
It's
so
the functional
the
movements.
overarching message for today is, if you're not happy with how your body is moving, you can do something about it, and it doesn't have to be hard, and
Yep.
it doesn't have to be
And stop adapting
overly exertive.
around injuries. Stop
Yeah.
adapting around, oh, that's sore, so I won't do that anymore,
Yeah.
like what you were doing. I was just giving you guys an example before we started about how one of the ladies on my course was a nurse, or is a nurse, and was telling us about this old man that got so locked into the seated position that if they had to move him to go and do anything, he would stay locked in that seated position.
That's insane.
I know. So he's just seized up. That's that whole you don't move it, you lose it kind of
Yeah.
thing that you were talking about
Yep.
with the lubrication.
Yep.
So that's so sad to hear that someone just actually can't even move.
Yeah,
So-
crazy.
So just to get very personal for me for a second. So one of the main influential people that drove me to do this was my mum, which is relevant because it was 2 years ago. She passed away yesterday, so it's fresh in my mind.
Jeez.
But she suffered through most of her life. So she had my body, but a much prettier version of my body. But genetically, we were peas in a pod. She didn't have the care or the ability of what I've been able to a lot of people have helped me along my journey. But also I was very self-driven because by 40, she was a sewing machinist, and maybe it was late 70s, early 80s, but she had RSI. So back then they would put you in a cast, and these days maybe that's not the only way to treat, but it was her body just fascially and muscularly. She was overworked, stubborn like me, worked way too hard, because she wanted the praise, you're doing a great job, work harder, work harder. But it destroyed her in the process because she didn't do anything to undo that. So she ended up by 40, had 2 hip replacements, 2 shoulder replacements, and I think they might have even repeated that.
By 40?
But her quality of life was never overly beneficial from that. So she retired from work by 40, and luckily she's got a cool husband that was, he's pretty cool. But he's on the other end. He's 87. He walks 5Ks every day to go and get the paper. He's active. Mum wasn't able to do that because she just didn't have the ability. So that drove me to go, well, I don't want to end up like that.
Yeah.
So...
how good that you love yourself enough to put that effort in to not end up like that.
Yeah, but also I love helping people too. So my journey has helped them. So I got to celebrate, and I dedicated my swim down at Bustleton Jetty 5 weeks ago, because I went, I'm going to do something that I haven't done anything. I used to do the Avon descent and all that. And
You did too. I forgot about that.
So I went, I'm going to swim around the jetty to show at 58 what I'm talking about is relevant and get some street cred back. So I did that.
Who gave you the street cred?
Sorry?
Just everyone gave you the street cred? Or did you can brag and run?
Well, I gave it to myself.
Right.
He demands it.
He demands it.
I was slow. I was like an old diesel tugboat way out the back. But I wasn't racing. I was completing. I was doing, and I enjoyed it.
You had your own goals. And
I totally enjoyed it.
were you thinking about your mum the whole time?
Yes.
How beautiful.
No, that was cool.
Because you would have gotten in a zone doing that.
Yep. I was thinking about Alana and my mum. And that just took me to a cool, happy place.
Yeah.
And it got me around.
How beautiful.
But it's a celebration in her actually inspiring me to do what I do.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So now I feel it's my duty to pass that on.
And also what you are to people is what we call an expander, where you give them a version of what's possible that they didn't know.
Yep.
So you even just saying, I was the kid that blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And to show where you're at now,
Yep.
shows all those people, because you've often said about how inflexible you are and yeah.
Whereas the class on Wednesday when Scotty went, so how far am I doing that? And and I went, okay, so you're doing that. And then I did this really weird back flex, which not many people at 58 could do. And I said...
Did he show off, Scott?
I showed off.
He shows off. There's another chap in the class, and they both have an ego battle of who can do more.
Who can
Well,
twist
actually, no. Greg can do far more than him. It's ego battles in lots of different ways. Who knows more? Who's the smartest? Who can do this the strongest or whatever?
That's a whole...
So it's a multifaceted class, is what you're saying.
podcast in itself, Scotty. But it's
good. And yeah, Greg, because I was feeling pretty good that I could sort of maneuver my body in this particular way. I was like, Greg, is this good? He goes, yeah, that's good. And he goes, what about this? And then he does it. And I was like, okay. So added another 90-degree rotation to what I was doing.
But everyone's on their own journey. And I think it's important for me to be able to demonstrate.
To be the expander.
To go...
That's true. I could see how much further you can go.
Because...
So you know what's possible now.
Yeah.
Because I'm short and stocky, and I don't look like I should be flexible. And there's genetically, there's like people go, oh, look how well you move. You're lucky. And I go,
It ain't luck.
nah.
Yeah.
There's no luck. I've reinvested because I want to be as annoying as possible for as long as possible and enjoy life. And at 58, rock up and do the Bustleton Jetty swim because I can.
Yeah.
And not be a spectator.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, that's a perfect little metaphor that you're not a spectator in life. You're actually in there doing it.
yeah, it's fun,
Living
more
it.
fun doing.
Yeah.
And I can vouch that he definitely brings a positive energy every Wednesday when I'm there. Well, we've gone quite a while. Do you have any, before we wrap up, any sort of final advice or anything that you want to say, or are you happy with everything you've...
No, it's all good. It's nice just being able to talk and share the information. So thanks for the opportunity.
Pleasure.
And if people want to find out more, then just pop into our website, jsrmassage.com.au.
I had a whole outro written for you, Greg.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, but you beat me to it. That's okay. And
So-
what about social media anyway?
Social media, we've got a Joondalup Sports Remedial Facebook page. Being old, I'm not over all that as much. But pop in, get a treatment, and I'll talk your ears off. But it's all about sharing knowledge, not telling you what to do, but giving you the reasons. Because if it doesn't come from within, it's not going to stick.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being our very, very first guest
Yep.
on the Reconnect Self podcast. Really appreciate your time. So anyone who's in Perth, and especially in the northern suburbs, Joondalup Sports Remedial Massage, jsrmassage.com.au, and I will put that in the show notes as well. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Scotty.
Thanks,
Trace.
Tracy.
Thanks, guys.
And we will... Oh, no, I've got to do all my little other bits and pieces. So if you like the show, obviously hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, add a comment on YouTube or Spotify. And the reason I ask you to do that is it just helps the show be seen by more people, and then it incentivizes us to keep making the show. So if you like it, please support us. You can join our mailing list, which is we send a fortnightly newsletter, and that is available. You can sign up at tracyquayle.com. And Tracy, you're on all the social media because I manage it all for you.
You put me on everything.
So if you want to follow Tracy, it's at tracyquayle.therapy. And until next time...
But just quickly, registrations are open for that individual retreat
Oh,
the
yeah.
16th to the 18th of May. So that's coming up really soon.
Yes.
I'm really excited to get those going again. So if you'd like to join us, registration's open now.
Yeah. There's a couple of spots left, and your relationship retreat as well.
In June.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.